Hello everyone. Hello everyone, and thank you all for your attention for participating in this stream, which is little earlier than usually. It's 5 o'clock in the afternoon here in Moscow, and their streams usually start at 6. And this might be mistake on my part to change the timing, although I was curious if 5 o'clock will be more convenient for the community members. We will find out soon in a couple of minutes time. So dear friends, as always, this is first of all community chat, so we can exchange opinion on different topics in real time. I will actually monitor chat and will be engaged, and also I have prepared a little news update also, just in case, so that I will share with you these latest reports from Russian media. Although I have to start with the information about earthquake that happened in Myanmar, and also it was felt all across the region, and there was significant damage done in Thailand, for example, in Bangkok. I shared a few posts about it on my Telegram and Twitter X page, and this is a picture. This is Myanmar, by the way. Bridge has collapsed, and hundreds of buildings were damaged. It was a 7.7, according to some reports, 7.9 earthquake with the power, and some serious damage was done. This video is from Thailand, I believe, Bangkok. Building was under construction and it just fell down. And unfortunately, according to some reports that I see, construction workers end up under the rubble, and their emergency services are trying to rescue them all. Now, latest reports are that death toll in Myanmar, for example, reach 20, although we all understand that this is preliminary information, and unfortunately it is highly likely that number of casualties will increase. So that's the major, breaking news, obviously, worldwide. 7.7, 7.9 earthquake. It's quite a lot, isn't it? It's quite a lot. And well, as I said, this is also from as a result of the aftermath of the earthquake. Some high-rise pool collapsed, and as you can see in this video, water just washed away people on the street. I never understood why these pools were built on skyscrapers, this open type of pools that are kind of hanging over the building. It might look interesting, but if something happens, then that's the result of it, So that's been said. I can once again, hello everyone. I can see Yaroslav Pelichek is here, Michael Kennedy is here. Hello dear friends, other members, and many thanks to all the members of our community who will join later on, or they will watch this stream in recording. And well, if I may, I will give you some news, dear friends, some updates, and after that I will get engaged with the chat. If I see any questions or comments, I will address those. If not, then we might just end the live stream a little earlier than usually, and that's about it. So we also have a report from TASS News Agency that Russian armed forces liberated 5 settlements this week, and these settlements are Mirnaya in DPR, Krasnaya PRV in Kharkov region. This information was reported today about Krasnaya PRV. Also, Malay Shirbaki and in Zaporozhye region, Sribner in the Donetsk People's Republic, and Gogolevka in the Kursk salient area. So progress of the Russian armed forces continues, and you know what is interesting? Today I was monitoring, as I always do, number of Western media outlets, and on YouTube I watched short video, relatively short video from one of the British media outlets where host was desperately trying to paint the picture in regards to Ukrainian battlefield. Let's say that is if Russian armed forces since the beginning of special military operation did not had any progress, did not manage to achieve any success. And I was, I mean, I have no respect for mere Western media for understandable reasons. They cannot be trusted ever, but I really was a little shocked. I did not expect that a host of even Western propaganda outlet will go down so beyond to say that since the beginning of special military operation, Russian armed forces didn't manage to achieve anything. That's something extraordinary, I will say, while we are on daily basis receiving information about liberation of different settlements on different sectors of the front, isn't it? So can you imagine if people in UK, for example, are truly believing in that program, in that TV station, and in that host, then what kind of understanding of the reality those people would have? They will be misled absolutely, isn't it? Absolutely. And I guess people that are under influence of such a propaganda probably in principle would not be able to grasp their mind around their objective truth. You know, they will never acknowledge objective truth, no matter how many facts you will put up front of them. They will never ever acknowledge your objective reality because they are just incapable of. They are so zombified by these propaganda outlets. Let's go through some more news, and TASS news agency is also reporting that Kremlin has stated that the Ukrainian armed forces are totally beyond the control of their Kyiv authorities. Interesting. I will not say entire all of the units of the Kyiv regime's forces, but neo-Nazi formations definitely are out of control of Zelensky. That's for sure. And that was the case, I guess, always. All segments of the armed forces of Ukraine are ignoring orders from the country's leaderships, while striking Russian energy facilities, and there is a total lack of control over the armed forces of Ukraine. This was stated at the briefing by the press secretary of the Russian president, Dmitry Peskov, while he was answering the question about this constant violation of the energy ceasefire, so-called energy ceasefire by Kyiv regime's forces. And once again, maybe Peskov is little exaggerating, because I don't think all the units of the Kyiv regime's forces are disobeying orders, but neo-Nazi formations definitely are acting any way they want her. I don't think they care about whatever Zelensky or his associates have to say. And when it comes to violations of the energy ceasefire, we have this report today that Kyiv regime once again violated this US-backed energy ceasefire. And with HIMARS, US-made or US-supplied HIMARS multi-launch rocket systems targeted in the Suja district gas facilities. So the Ukrainian military has attacked Russia's energy infrastructure in 3 separate regions, again violating US mediated moratorium on such strikes. Defense Ministry stated. I spoke about this this morning. There was a yesterday similar basically statement, and today yet another violations. And well, with HIMARS multi-launch rocket systems, this Suja gas measuring station was basically completely destroyed, and you can see on your screen now that there is a fire in the area. This facility was struck a couple of days ago, and during the previous 24 hours, Kyiv regime repeated this strike and destroyed whatever was left from the previous strike. So Peskov definitely has a point while saying that the number of units of the Kyiv regime's forces are out of control. That's for sure. But unfortunately, there are also a number of units that are still following the orders. And for example, we have this report. That Kyiv has ordered the Ukrainian armed forces to occupy new territories in the Kursk and the Belgorod regions. The commander has tasked the Ukrainian armed forces with capturing the new areas in Kursk and at least some territory of the Belgorod region. Source in the Sever group of forces told the RIA Novosti. Sever group of forces is Russian forces that are operating in the northern sectors of the front line, including in the Kursk and the Belgorod directions. Well, according to Seven group of forces, I mean, there are at least some units of the Kyiv regime that are following these orders, right? And they are conducting these suicidal operations time after time after time. But yet again, these are most likely ordinary units, probably forcefully mobilized personnel, while neo-Nazi formations like Azov, Kraken, and some others, they are acting any way they wish without second thoughts about orders of the Zelensky. But still, Russian President Vladimir Putin went to say yesterday while visiting Murmansk and meeting with the Russian fleet personnel that Russia will finish off Kyiv regime's forces anyway. So President Vladimir Putin has declared that the Russian forces are gaining momentum across their entire line of contact and could soon finish off Ukraine's military, while commenting on the attempts by Kyiv's European backers to derail the diplomatic resolution of their conflict. And yes, it is true that Russian troops definitely can and will demilitarize Kyiv regime, basically. No doubts about that. But unfortunately, longer this conflict continues, there are going to be more casualties and more destruction. RIA Novosti is also reporting that Kremlin commented on Putin's idea of external control over their Ukraine. I spoke about this topic during the first news update today about this initiative of the Russian president. Full video is on YouTube and Rumble. I published short video from today's first update, but full video is on my Patreon and Boosty pages, and I did spoke about this topic there. So Russian President Vladimir Putin's idea of introducing external control in Ukraine is connected with the Kyiv's loss of control, explained the head of state, press secretary Dmitry Peskov. So according to Peskov, basically, Russian president came up with this initiative about UN control of Ukraine, temporary control of Ukraine before elections will take place and some adequate people will end up in power because, well, according to Kremlin, Kyiv regime is no longer able to control military armed groups, basically, and therefore whatever agreements might be reached with this regime, these agreements will not be honored by Kyiv because they just simply cannot, right? Because of lack of control over their armed formations. There is a logic there for sure, but as I said in today's update on Patreon, Washington already reacted on this initiative, and this reaction was quite cold. Washington stated that fate of Ukraine should be decided by Constitution of Ukraine and the people. Although it is also true that currently people that are living in this so-called Ukraine have no say, right? And when it comes to constitution of Ukraine, that constitution has been ignored for a very, very long time, because according to that constitution, during the martial law, only mandate of parliament is prolonged, or the Rada, state Rada, as it called in Ukraine. Not the mandate of the president, but despite this direct quote from, direct explanation in the constitution of Ukraine, Zelensky, for whatever reason, is still acting as a president there. So Washington is clearly mistaken and have no idea about Ukraine's constitution or their real situation in Ukraine, where people clearly have no say, right? Or maybe Washington knows about it, but they just act stupid, as they quite often do. And dear friends, when it comes to Western propaganda outlets today, while monitoring this Western media outlets, just to see, what kind of topics are pushed by the Western propagandists, I watched on Fox News on their YouTube channel short video where some expert was invited, former CIA staff, high-ranking official, I guess, and I was a bit surprised, by the way, to see such a aggression on Fox towards Russia, and such a disrespectful attitude towards Russian leadership and towards Russia. I was quite disappointed. I don't really watch Fox News or monitor Fox News that much. Today I just checked it out, and I was disappointed big time. What are Russophobes, man? What the freaking Russophobes are they on that TV station? And if Fox News is acting like that, then can you imagine MSNBC, NBC, CNN, and the rest of them? What they will do? I mean, they're probably going absolutely wild and crazy, isn't it, with their Russophobia. RIA Novosti is reporting that Tehran responded to Trump's letter on Iran's nuclear program. So Tehran responded to a letter from US President Donald Trump on the Iranian nuclear program. Iran's foreign minister Abbas Araghchi stated, even though there is no details provided here, I guess Iran sent their answer to the request of Washington, to kind of ensure White House that Iran is not working on a military nuclear program. But I don't think this is going to be enough. I'm quite sure this will not work, because it seems like US is heading with full speed towards direct military clash with Iran. And the recent deployment of B-2 bombers in Diego Garcia Island, that is occupied by UK in the Indian Ocean, is just at least indirect confirmation of that. So unfortunately, I'm afraid it's only a matter of maybe couple of months or even couple of weeks, and I guess we will see direct confrontation between US and Iran, which will trigger regional war, obviously, and the entire world will felt it 100%, because Iran will shut down as a defensive measure Hormuz Strait, which means that no oil and gas will reach world markets from the Persian Gulf, and obviously entire world will feel that big time. Also, RIA Novosti is reporting about further escalation of the relationships between US and Canada, and the new Prime Minister of Canada stated that the era of old relations with the US is over. According to this Mark Corney, I wonder if I need to remember his name, or he will be replaced soon. So yeah, Mark Corney stated this, and I saw some videos when he was even threatening US with some retaliatory actions and so on. But come on, man. I mean, US is a one league heavyweight. Canada is a lightweight. not by territory. By territory, Canada is actually bigger than US, but when it comes to economical, military, political influence, obviously Canada is in a whole different league, and hardly they can withstand their pressure from US. And if Washington will, is serious enough about establishing control, full control over the Canada, probably they will manage to do so. Not necessarily militarily, but if they want to militarily too. And TASS news agency is reporting that today Russian President Vladimir Putin had a phone conversation with his Turkish colleague. They spoke about Middle East, Ukrainian crisis. Turkish president said that Turkey would like to play some role of mediator between the sides. Okay. I mean, Russia just has no option but to have some connection with the current Turkish leadership, although we all understand that Erdogan and his regime cannot be trusted. And therefore, I guess Moscow will only maintain this relationship on a level of absolute necessity, and that's about it. Of course, Turkey not gonna be no mediator and never can be trusted. So this is some of the news, dear friends, that from ones that I bookmark for tomorrow's first update. Michael Kennedy, and now chat, by the way, let's have exchange of opinions. And I wonder, dear friends, what is your take on decision of French and UK leadership to deploy their troops? This morning, in first update, I spoke about this topic. Decision was made. It's not just the talks now. They made decision to send their mission initial group in just a couple of days' time. At least that's what was reported in the media. And so, in my personal opinion, we are heading towards a wider escalation, which is, to me personally, seems absolutely inevitable. At this point, the only question I have, which countries will be engaged in this wider direct conflict? Only France, UK, and a few Chihuahua states from Baltics, or maybe US also. And if US too, then we have a big problem, because things may escalate so much so that, well, we all understand what war between Russia and the US means. End of everything. Although direct clashes between Russia, France, Russia, UK also not gonna be light walk, because both countries have nuclear weapons, and therefore I think it is absolutely necessary for Russian side now to consider preemptive strikes on nuclear capabilities of these two countries, because who knows, man? They are France and UK are controlled by psychopaths, right? By globalists, they're puppets, and who knows what they're gonna do with their nukes. They just cannot be trusted, and I think Russian general staff already has some plans to neutralize nuclear capabilities of these two countries if necessary. And I think it is necessary. If I was in charge, I will definitely authorize preemptive strikes to make sure that oh, sorry, dear friends. What the heck, man? Always something has to go wrong, man. What a chaotic day today. Unbelievable. Sorry for that. But yes, if I was in charge, I would definitely authorize immediate preemptive strike to make sure that no France, no UK have no nuclear weapons, because they're just too dangerous. And I have no trust in the leadership of these countries even for a second. I see them as an existential threat for all of us. So that's what I would do. But it's not up to me really. But I'm quite sure Russian militaries are preparing plans to take action if and when necessary. And we are getting closer to that point, by the way. We are getting close to that point, and there are soon troops that French and the British leadership will send to Ukraine are going to back to their countries in the body bags. I mean, this is just absolutely inevitable. Citizens of those countries should know that it's not our fault. We did not, send our troops to France or UK. It's them that are sending their troops to fight us, and we have to take care of them, right? And we will. I mean, simple as that. It's nothing personal, just a business, right? So if London and Paris want to go that way, okay, I mean, we can also play that game, and they're much better than they can imagine. Michael Kennedy is commenting, yes, sir, this will be settled there on the battlefield, unfortunately. Yes, absolutely. I mean, at this point, me personally have not even slight doubts that unfortunately we're going to see direct clashes between Russian and the European troops, or troops of the European NATO member states, UK, France, potentially Poland, Baltic states, although, I mean, yet again, these Chihuahua states from Baltic don't really means nothing, but yet again, UK and France, they do have some force, right? And I'm not really worried about their military forces, their military capabilities when it comes to conventional warfare, but they have nukes, right? They are led by psychopaths, and they have nukes, and this is a big issue, right? And that's why I'm saying I'm not bloodthirsty, some sort of animal, by the way. I mean, I hate wars, right? But, I want my family to be safe. I want my kids to be saved. And we live in Moscow. And I do understand perfectly well that Moscow is a primary target for British and French nuclear weapons. And if these countries were led by some respected, adequate people, okay, after all, we used to be allies during the Second World War. But unfortunately, these countries are led by people that are danger for their own citizens, first of all, and for everybody else, right? Including to us here in Russia. So therefore, it's a serious stuff. And the situation will be resolved on the battlefield. The only question I have, will US stay out of it, or will get engaged? Because and in my personal opinion, US most likely will stay out of it, exactly because its involvement will mean the end of everything. But I mean, still, by the way, still world might end up on the edge of extinction due to actions of the Western ruling elites. And what is interesting, while monitoring Western media outlets, I was interested if there would be any kind of challenge from some journalists on decisions that was made yesterday, for example, to send their militaries and to further escalate with Russia. And you know what? I see nothing. I see nothing. As if nothing is happening. And I wonder why. This is a big deal. We are about to end up in a war, and public has no idea about it. Wow, that's quite stuff. And no reactions from US also, dear friends, which is also strange. Let's, dear friends, if you have a question, please put your question with the capital Q up front so that I will see it, or entire question or the comment with capital letters. Don Zuger is asking, will the Ruskies rush to their aid of Iran if the US and Israel attack Iran? Yes, Iran will receive whatever assistance it will need. One should keep in mind, dear friends, that due to actions of the US, tens of thousands of Russian citizens died, and this cannot be forgiven or forgotten. And Russian leadership was clear that Russia will retaliate. This retaliation may not be direct and kinetic, right? But retaliation will take place, and it will be asymmetric most likely. And most likely when US will attack Iran together with Israel or separately, most likely Iran will receive whatever assistance it will need, and Russia will try its best, directly or indirectly, to inflict on US no any lesser pain that US inflicted on us while leading the charge in this proxy war against Russia. I mean, it's just that simple, isn't it? I mean, blood for blood. You know, you wanted to harm us, you kill our people, we will do the same to you. I mean, no forgiveness, 100%, right? And this might not be direct open policy of Russia like US does. US is was engaged in this proxy war and still is engaged, right? Russia may act a little differently, but I'm 100% convinced, by the way, that one way or another, but Russia will pay back to its enemies. That being US, France, UK, Germany, whomever. You know, they will come, that they will pay a heavy price for the crimes that they committed against Russia. And I'm all in support of that, by the way. All in support of it. You know, if these countries were staying out of this conflict, I would never support idea to escalate with them. But because those countries are directly guilty of death of my fellow citizens, thousands of them, then of course I'm all for retaliation, 100%. We have to inflict no lesser pain on our enemies than they inflicted on us. That's it. Nikos is asking, in his interview with Mario Naval, Lukashenko said that this is his last term. Did Iran suggested that Belarus and Russia would reunify after that? Do you agree or want this? Well, Russia and Belarus, many people don't know, dear friends, worldwide, that Russia and Belarus are kind of a united country already. We have a sort of confederation right now. It's not being talked that often, but we have a confederation. This is not just ordinary union or alliance between the countries. We are confederation. And it called Объединенное государство. There is even bureaucracy of this united of this union. Although obviously both Moscow and Minsk maintain a huge level of independence from this bureaucracy of the union, but one day in the future, I think it will only benefit Belarus if Belarus and Russia will integrate even more, even further, right? Because even though we are union state, still there is some bureaucratic apparatus in Belarus, bureaucratic apparatus in Russia that might make doing business a little bit difficult, right? While being part of one system removes all this bureaucratic stuff, right? And it does make doing business easier, isn't it? And when it comes to people, I mean, we are one people anyways, right? So yes, it will happen. Most likely it will happen. The process of integration will continue, and I cannot tell you when this level of integration will reach its peak, during the Lukashenko's presidency or after that, but it just seems like logical, isn't it? It just feels logical to continue in that way. So Yes, I think this will happen. Although when and in during the presidency of whom in Belarus, I don't know. And you know, uh, so I see no questions, dear friends. Heimo Melanen is commenting. Andrei just explained all Russian missile capability in Garland Nixon show yesterday. It was a huge. Do not miss it. I guess you mean Andrei Martianov, military expert from US with Russian roots. I'm subscribed to his channel, and I definitely recommend all the members of our community to subscribe. He has a great, very informative shows on his channel. And dear friends, under my news updates in the description box, you can see a link to Andrei Martianov's channel, as to channels of a dozen of other creators that are really great ones, right? And I recommend those two. And well, when it comes to missile capabilities, unfortunately, I have not watched that episode. But well, I mean, if any country has any missile capabilities, especially long-range ones, then Russia is leading the charge. Just as I reported in today's first update, dear friends. I mean, full show is on Patreon, right? On Boosty. Yesterday, Russian president participated in the launching of a new nuclear submarine, Perim, which is our first one from the series of the submarines that will be armed with their Zircon hypersonic missiles. So it's a huge deal, isn't it? And Russian long-range strategical capabilities basically are increasing on a year basis. And these Zircon missiles are ones that are, hardly any country will be able to intercept, or to be more precise, no one country will be able to intercept. That's the level of weaponry that we are talking about. Levan, why are you so rockful? Zakharova said Americans are the most vengeful people on the planet. Russians are very patient. You guys take it easy and don't care how many times you get cockled. Well, I don't know about patience. I'm not sure I did understand all of your question, but I don't think we are. What can I say, dear friend? I mean, I have no patience. Personally, I'm Southerner, right? And the Southerners are known to be less patient people. And Stalin was a Southerner, for example. And if I was Russian president, trust me, not a single bullet would cross the border with the so-called Ukraine once a special military operation would start. Not a single bullet from NATO countries or from any other country, because I would obliterate that country in a nuclear hell, right? With the warnings, of course. I would warn that you do some crazy stuff and you are finished. I would issue warning, and then we'll follow up on that, right? And I don't care how will history remember me. I would not care, man. If I see my enemy, I want my enemy to be obliterated. That's simple as that. That's their Southerner approach. Northerners are more calm, and maybe Northerners are more polite. And maybe Zakharova meant that not all of us are like angels, but some people are really polite and patient, and yes, it's a good stuff. It's not a bad stuff, by the way, but to me personally, I'm all for more proactive measures, right? And if Russia has nuclear weapons, by the way, for what reason? For what purposes? I mean, tell me. Maybe I don't understand something, but how come that some Chihuahua states are messing around nuclear superpower? I mean, that does not make no sense to me personally, right? And maybe it is absolutely even necessary to use these nuclear weapons, not in a large scale, but in some ways, to put these Chihuahua states in their places. Maybe it is necessary to do so. And it's not just me, by the way, but Karaganov, for example, who was aide of Kremlin at one point, was also arguing that Western so-called elites, these globalists, lost their touch with reality. They have no longer fear of nuclear weapons. And that's why they are messing around Russia. So maybe to put them in their places, maybe to bring them to reality, it is necessary to use some extreme force. And I agree, I'm on the same page on that, right? If Russia, on the very first hour of beginning of the special military operation, drop, let's say, 3 nuclear, tactical nuclear warheads in some forestry area somewhere on Kyiv controlled territory as a warning, by the way, in some empty, just forestry areas, I think not even single bullet would cross the border with Ukraine. But current Russian leadership is not as radical as I am, right? They have different approach, and I'm not saying that my approach is correct and their approach is wrong. Probably their approach is correct and I am wrong. But anyways, I still think that if Russia dropped a couple of nukes in the beginning of special military operation in some forested areas to make sure that there are no casualties, that would be a strong enough message for everybody not to mess around. Am I correct, dear friends? I mean, let's be real here, Am I correct? Anyways, Ilya Kuryakin is asking, UN runs SWIFT transfer system. If Trump wanted to, he could order them and the EU to comply, but he won't because he is lying. I know there is this idea that US is Washington is in charge of everything, but I think it's not Washington is in charge of everything. Western ruling classes, right? And the Western ruling class, in my understanding, is some clans, some generational families that were robbing this world for centuries and centuries and centuries. Take a look at the royal families in Europe, for example. Prime example of what I mean by these clans and Western ruling class. So it's a royal families. It's some families that made huge fortune during this expansion of their, let's say, European influence during the era of European empires, right? That robbed entire world, almost entire world. And I think those clans are in charge of US, Europe, and many other parts of this world, right? Although it seems like there is a conflict, internal conflict in this Western ruling elite, right? Because one part of it is based basically in US, and another part is based on in Europe. And this another part that based in Europe are now transformed into a sort of globalists, right? They are now globalists, and the part that is more focused on US and based on US are sort of opposite of that, right? Especially because they do understand that if they go along with the globalists, then US will go down together with Europe, because they understand perfectly well Europe is finished. In this rapidly changing world, Europe and European influence in this world is dropping significantly every single year, and for a reason, after all, I was saying that give it another like 20, 30, 50 years and modern Europe or European part of Eurasian continent will be, either loosely relevant part of this continent of Eurasia or even completely forgotten one. But definitely not the dominant force in a geopolitical field, right? And first of all, because absence of resources. They have no resources. Only way Europe could maintain its relevance, or European elites, let's say, is if they were cooperating with Russia, right? But they chose the other way. They chose not to cooperate, but to destroy Russia and to capture Russia and to rob Russia, basically, as they did in many other countries worldwide. And they are failing in this attempt that we are observing, including on daily basis, right now. And U.S. elites or part of Western ruling class that is more focused on U.S., they understand if they go hand to hand with these globalists, they're gonna go down too, because they're gonna end up some deeper and deeper troubles. But if they separate themselves from Europe, they might have better chances. And there seems like current leadership of US and forces that are behind current administration are moving in that direction. And that's why all these talks, dear friends, about Panama, about Canada, Greenland, and this and that, it's all about resources. US has enough resources, but they want some more, just to stay on safe side, right? Does my reading of the big picture make sense? So therefore, when it comes to financial system, this financial system is also divided between these two groups in the Western ruling class, right? And I think globalists are in charge of SWIFT, not this other part that is focused on US. So therefore, I don't think Washington can really order to SWIFT to start to reconnect Russian banks. I guess Washington cannot, and that's why yesterday, for example, these puppets of the globalists that get together in Paris, that's why they were making these strong statements undermining very same Washington and their proposal of the Washington about this Black Sea deal, right? Or grain deal 2.0. So I think there is a conflict, internal conflict in the Western ruling class. There is quite a number of indicators of that. Although it does not mean that Washington will not go down still, not go down together with Europe. They might well, because of the influence of the globalists. Just take a look at the Trump's administration right now. They are on fire, isn't it? They are on fire. Almost every other day there is some scandal. They are constantly on fire, under pressure from inside, from outside, and there is clearly attempt to divert attention of the public, to divert attention of the Washington itself from some geopolitical stuff towards some internal, not really relevant topics. Not really relevant compared to some geopolitical stuff that Washington is engaged, right? So, it is what it is, man. We will find out if Washington will make no reaction about these extreme actions of the European elites in today, tomorrow, day after. Then I guess we may argue that globalists managed to bring Trump's administration under control, because there is clearly struggle currently, isn't it? So, and maybe my understanding of the big picture is mistaken, dear friends. I don't know. I only spent some 30 years in the journalism, and only worked in this field of news so long, but maybe I don't have enough good enough skills to understand what the hell is going on. It's a possibility, but I clearly see struggle between Washington and the globalists currently. Michael Kennedy is commenting City of London Corporation versus Mugger. I mean, I'm on the same page with you, Michael. I clearly see currently this internal conflict among Western ruling class. And I'm not sure that this America First, let's call them America First group, I'm not sure that America First will stand this pressure from the globalists, because they are on fire. I mean, just look at almost every day there are some scandals, and senior members of the Trump's administration are on constant defense, from Hexet to National Security Advisor and to Special Envoy, and just name it, man. All of them almost, right? And Trump himself. So it's not gonna be easy. It's not gonna be easy, and there maybe globalists will manage to put so much pressure on their Trump's administration that they will back down. It might clearly happen, because maybe, for example, I was thinking that US will at least react one way or another, but at least will react on developments that happened in Paris yesterday, but not a single statement. Not a single statement from Trump or from I don't know, Rubio, or from some other officials. Come on. Yes, I mean, Turing is commenting complete silence from MAGA. I mean, yes, what is going on? Why? So Tom Level is Tom Lovely. Dear friends, sorry if I'm pronouncing your names or nicknames wrongly. I apologize for that. Tom Lovely is commenting, will the EU participate the end of the world? I hope not, but I fear so. Well, EU is clearly pushing for that, isn't it? Because first of all, despite dozens and numerous Russian warnings for decades, we're saying EU, that EU member states that are also NATO member states were ignoring these warnings together with US, and they're expanding NATO's military infrastructure and bringing it to closer and closer to Russian border. Eventually they went so far to invite Georgia and Ukraine into NATO in 2008, right? And by inviting Ukraine, for example, they break, in the West, they love to talk about Budapest Memorandum, isn't it? But I don't know if anyone ever said that by inviting Ukraine into NATO, Western ruling elites actually broke that Budapest Memorandum. And Ukraine, while accepting this invitation, also break these fundamental points of this memorandum, right? But still, somehow Western propaganda blames Russia for that. Is that, not crazy? Isn't it? Nothing to be said about nukes that I spoke about a million times that Ukraine never had. It was Soviet nukes, and they become Russian nukes from very first second that Soviet Union was dissolved. Right? So, so yes, EU is pushing towards this, towards absolute disaster. And, as I said many times before, until Russia will force globalists to back down, until Russia will force Western ruling class to back down, they will not stop, because they don't know how to stop. Right? For 3 to 5 centuries, by the way, for the last 3 to 5 centuries, these European elites and then US elites that are basically breakaway part from European elites, right? They were dominating the world for the last 3 to 500 years. And these generational clans, they don't know what is the respect for others. They don't know what is true competition. They don't know how to back down when it is necessary, because they never had to, right? They were dominant force for quite a number of centuries. And now we are in a point when well, they will either back down or will be destroyed. You know, we will force them one way or another, but we don't have a choice. I mean, Russia. As we never had a choice when Napoleon united Europe to then come after us. And it did not end well, isn't it, for Napoleon and European forces. And then, Germany also kind of united Europe while occupying some countries, and other countries were allies of Nazi Germany. And they went after us again, and we had to take care of them also. And we did it with their unbelievable casualties, losses, but we did it. And if necessary, I guess we will do it third time also. But, if it comes to it this time, we have to make sure that European elites, by the way, I have nothing against ordinary people like us, ever. But if it comes to another wider war, again, then I think this time we have to completely eliminate, basically, Western elites, Western ruling class. Because it's as long as that element exists, it's an existential threat for humanity. So if it comes to wider war, I think Russia will have no option but to completely erase Western ruling class. That's it, man. It just has to be done. And if I was Russian president, trust me, I will do exactly that. No mercy, no nothing. Just eliminate the so-called Western elites completely. All of them, because that's the only way humanity can, become free again from this, Nitish Kumar is here and asking Levan, if Erdogan regime fail, will it have impact on Giuliani and Syria? Yes, most likely yes. I mean, Syria will disintegrate even faster. Disintegration of Syria is inevitable, in my personal opinion. But if Erdogan's regime will fail, then risk of Israeli-Turkey war or confrontation will decrease significantly. And Syria, disintegration of Syria will just accelerate, and Israel and new Turkey will find their new red lines on Syrian territory and in political map in general. But if Erdogan survives, if Erdogan's regime survives current assault, then that's gonna be a big deal for Middle East and potentially even rest of the world, because in case of Erdogan, we are talking about elements that see themselves as a continuation of the Ottoman Empire, right? And if we take a look at the map of Ottoman Empire, then everything will become clear. Turkey was Ottoman Empire. Sorry, that was not Turkey. That was Ottoman Empire. Was dominant force for a very long time in forward Asia or Middle East, And if Erdogan wins, then I think Middle East should and ideology. It's not just Erdogan personally, but this ideology. Then Middle East will experience some historical changes in upcoming years and decades. But the question is, will Erdogan and his inner circle that worked almost 20 years on the current project of sort of reanimating Ottoman Empire, will they survive? I don't know. But it will have either way, it will have a huge impact on region at least. Maria Palmer is commenting, British government still thinks it's a colonial power and the Europeans think they have a safety in numbers. Yes, I agree with you. And dear friends, one should keep in mind that British royal family and British aristocracy in general is the main driving force of the globalism. It's only propaganda that British royal family and British aristocracy have no influence no more, and it's a republic. It's a kingdom just just as a formality, but in reality it's a republic. They have prime minister and elections and that kind of stuff. No, man, no. Royal families, when I'm talking about Western ruling class and generational clans, I mean including those so-called aristocracies that are through generation to generation were receiving wealth and influence that was based basically on criminal activity of these families and the clans for decades and decades, for centuries. And one of the most brutal and influential families in this regard are Windsors, isn't it? Current royal family of UK. And they are driving force of the globalism and the British aristocracy in general. And one may be surprised, but when it comes to continental Europe, well, historically speaking, there was always some sort of competition between British aristocracy and the French elites, right? Because formally they were on different pages, especially after French revolutions. But nowadays seems like they all are globalists, right? They all are united again, and they're under strict control of this British aristocracy. British aristocracy, some aristocrats from Scandinavia and that kind of stuff. French, Spanish, Italian aristocracy or their families, they are influential for sure, but not as much as British ones. So yes, they feel like they are colonial power, and they actually have a power over their many countries to dictate what to do, when, and how. So one may argue that empire was dissolved only on the paper, but in reality, empire maintained itself. And after all, what is the Commonwealth? How come that Canadians, for example, have to ask general governor, who represents UK's royal family, permission to conduct elections? What is that? So, and when it comes to continental Europe, well, they are just delusional. Elites there are delusional, and they are afraid. They're actually afraid that, I guess they have plenty of think tanks. They are analyzing developments, and they do understand perfectly well what I said many times before, that in 20, 30, maximum 50 years time, Europe is going to be some loosely relevant or completely irrelevant part of Eurasian continent, which means that influence of these generational clans and families gonna, just disappear for good, right? They don't want it, and that's why they are now acting this crazy. especially against Russia, because the only way they understand perfectly well that it's all about resources, and the only way they can have resources to maintain their growth is if they are absolutely controlling Russia and their Russian potential. That's from where this crazy aggression towards Russia is coming from. They want to control Russia, and they want to rob Russia, as they did in many other parts of this world. That's it. Jerry Kogan is commenting, German aristocracy has always found ways of inserting themselves into other countries and discussing themselves as their native patriots. The British royal family is only one example. Yes, I mean, British royal family is a German aristocracy, actually. Yes, it is true. Although, by the way, I mean, Anglo-Saxons, they are Germans, right? English language is a part of German language family. It might sound a bit different than modern German, but still, it's one roots, right? So yeah, I can see, Jerry, your point. British royal family is actually, German aristocracy, and Russian Empire, Russian royal family, by the way, was also German. Initially, Ruriks, they were Scandinavians, by the way. Then there was, several dynasties, and they were Germans. So it's true. Their surnames were Russian, but they were Germans. Although, by the way, I don't think it's good or bad, because I mean, if they served well, I mean, you can be whomever you want. I mean, who cares, right? But if you serve your people, your country, I mean, if you are Russian, you are Russian. That's it. And if you are a good Russian citizen, if you are serving your country, your people, then who cares? You are, your roots go to Germany or to France or to, I don't know, in my particular case, for example, to Georgia or Alania, Alan people, Skytho-Sarmatians, Ossetians. Who cares, man? Yes, Michael Kennedy is commenting also on this topic. I mean, Russian history is full of German, full of aristocracy, full of families in aristocracy, including royal family, by the way, that were Germans. Yes, that's true. Heimo Molonen is commenting, has real people's revolution ever happened in history? I don't know. French people might argue that, yes, they had their revolution, and not just once and not just even twice or 3 times. But let's be real. Let's be real. These aristocracies, they are set of families, isn't it? That somehow always are in power. It's just historical truth, and I don't think it's fair some families to have a privilege just because they are descendants of some criminals that rob rest of the world, right? Or were such horrible people that are get enriched, get filthy rich and influential by committing crimes against their others. I don't think it's fair when descendants of such a people are in a privileged position right now. What about us, ordinary people? I mean, what the hell? Why we have to be in disadvantageous position just because our ancestors were decent people? What the hell? Am I correct? Oh, Richard Lozier is commenting. I am US citizen, but I care. I am a US citizen, but lived in USSR, Russia for 33 years. Well, that's a quite... I lived in Russia, so you moved from Russia? 33 years, that's quite a lot. I wonder if you were diplomat, maybe, but 33 years, even for diplomat, is just too long. John Dickinson is here. Hello, John. John is leaving. So thank you, John, for your attention. Nidish Kumar is asking, Levan, do you have a Velo Tress in Russia? It's a $2 billion industry. Willow trees. In Russia, it's $2 billion industry. We have a shortage of willow wood. Willow. I'm gonna search now because I don't really know what that is. Am I spelling correctly? Willow. Okay. Let's see, dear friends. Because I don't know. What the hell? You know what? Sorry, dear friends, I'm just interested to understand what this really is. Плачущее дерево. Oh, I don't know, Nidish. Probably we have, but industry, I don't think so. I mean, it's these ones, isn't it? I mean, these trees. I have seen these kind of trees, for sure. Usually on a side of a river or maybe little lake, like it is on these pictures. Probably these trees love water more than other ones, but I'm not sure if there is any industry of that, because these trees probably will... I have seen these trees in the southern sides. Sorry, dear friends. So I have seen these kind of trees in the south, but in the northern latitudes, I'm not sure this tree will survive even due to weather conditions. So I guess answer is no, but yet again, I don't know. I don't know English. Sorry, but I don't know. Red Zedder 501 is commenting, the order followers and the law enforcement are the reason why they can stay in power. Well, this is also a good point. You know, this is also a good point. And by the way, I mean, when it comes to question of revolution, there was attempts of revolution, rebellion in UK also, in many countries, to somehow, you know, when ordinary people were trying to defend their rights, but usually what was happening is that, you know, there was some agreement in place, and eventually aristocrats would, you know, screw the people anyways, isn't it? So, I mean, British people might say they have Magna Carta. Yes, they do. But take a look at the modern UK, by the way. They still have lords, and several families own almost entire landmass of the island. I mean, is it normal? I don't think so. But John Dickinson is commenting there is willow in Alaska, so probably lots of in Russia as well. I mean, maybe, dear friends. I just don't know. I definitely have seen such trees in the south, but in the north, I mean, here when you go outside of cities, and I had traveled a little bit around. It's usually trees that are like Christmas trees. Different type of these Christmas trees, yolki, that are forever green, right? But not trees that have these leaves. And dear friends, Michael Kennedy is commenting, willow makes good cricket butts. Oh, I can see now why this interest in India towards willow tree, because in India cricket is of course number one sport. I guess I'm correct on that. I mean, in India, cricket stars are like, I don't know, man. You cannot compare them to any other star in the sport worldwide. They are like, I don't know, man. In India, in Pakistan also. After all, cricket star become Prime Minister of Pakistan and one of the most popular person ever. And dear friends, we had a good conversation, isn't it? We had a good, friendly, casual conversation about a dozen of topics. Yes, Maria Palmer is commenting, you must have a willow in Russia. It likes to grow near water. The weeping one is from China. Yes, probably we do. I mean, Russia is huge, isn't it? Biggest country in this world. And as John commented, if willow is growing in Alaska, then Alaska has no any harsher conditions, weather conditions than we do. So therefore, probably yes, there is a lot of those trees here in Russia, but I'm not sure if it's on industrial scale, if there is any work on that direction. But maybe it is. Who knows? If not, then maybe some businessmen from India should come to Russia and research this topic and start some business, because demand is going to be there forever. Yes, good idea, Jerry. Well, I mean, business idea is created. Michael Kennedy is commenting, Alaskan cricket could be the future. Yes, Alaska, I don't know about cricket, but dear friends, I don't know much about cricket, but I do pay some attention to hockey, and Russian hockey star is 5 bullets away, isn't it, to beat Wayne Gretzky's record, isn't it? And that's gonna be quite something. Ovechkin. And at this point, probably no one has any doubts that he will beat Gretzky's record. But anyways, dear friends, we had a great conversation about plenty of topics, exchange of opinion in real time. Thank you all. Thank you all for participating, for your attention, questions, comments. Have a wonderful day, great evening, and great upcoming weekend. take care, and most likely see you tomorrow, although I'm not quite sure if I will make her update tomorrow, but if I do, then see you tomorrow. In any case, have a wonderful, great weekend. Thank you all.